Hello and welcome to Talking Development. I'm pleased to be recording this episode from Lagos, Nigeria, as we spotlight one of the most critical drivers of economic transformation, reliable and affordable electricity. Nigeria, with its vibrant population of over 220 million, is one of the region's major economic engines. Yet, it is also home to Africa's largest number of people without access to electricity. This gap represents a real challenge, but also a tremendous opportunity. And it sits at the core of Mission 300, our shared effort with partners to bring electricity to 300 million people across Africa by 2030, with Nigeria playing a pivotal role. While off-grid solutions are expanding rapidly, distribution companies remain essential for long-term electrification, growth, and improved quality of life for millions. I'm delighted to be joined today by Folake Soetan, the Chief Executive Officer of Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company, one of the largest and most innovative utilities in sub-Saharan Africa. Folake, thank you so much for joining me. We've launched this initiative called Mission 300, which aims to connect 300 million people to electricity in Africa by 2030. Nigeria plays a massive role because it has the largest number of people unconnected to electricity today. And in discussing Nigeria's participation in this program, they made a commitment to basically say, of the 80 million or so not connected, we're going to try to connect 40 million additional by 2030. Now, distribution electricity companies has a huge role to play in this. What do you see as the role of the distribution companies in this big, ambitious endeavor to really kind of crack the nut on access in Nigeria?
Thank you very much, Anna. And I'm very excited about Mission 300, just as you are, understandably so. Sometimes it's like a shame to hear that Nigeria has the highest number. But it's also exciting for me because that means that there's an opportunity for us to connect either the people that are not really getting energy or the people that are underserved. If you look at the number of customers connected under Ikeja Electric, we're about 1.3 million, and that is a household. Yeah. So because household is about 5. If you look at the time when we took over the asset, about 11 years ago, that number has grown from about 300,000 to 1.3. So that's very aggressive. So that 1.3 million that you see today is as a result of course, improving the current infrastructure and, of course, metering. I think metering plays a huge role. There is no point in you investing in improving the infrastructure to release more energy, and then you lose that energy in either not being able to account for the energy and not be able to collect the energy. Hence the reason metering is critical. From the customer experience, the customer has visibility of what they consume. They can control what they consume. They can plan. So they can use their phone, for example, as the interface, where they can, like I said, control, manage. And we, on the other side, back end, can see where there's any leakage. We moved from a double-digit loss level to a single-digit loss level. And that's fantastic. That's phenomenal. And what that means is that once you can minimize your losses as a distribution company, you attract investment. Because what it shows is that whatever energy you take in, you can account for it, you have minimal losses, and investors are very willing to invest in the sort of scheme. And when I do that, I'm connecting more people, and that contributes to our M300 objective.
That is so inspiring. One thing I heard this morning, which was also a stark number, or two stark numbers. One was the installed capacity is massive, actually, 40,000 megawatt. The available capacity is really low. It's about 10% at about 4,000 megawatt. That means there's a huge need for, I'm assuming, investment in the sector, because somehow the production capacity is there, but what's available to distribute is just such a small fraction. I also heard that Nigeria's spending on infrastructure is 1% to 2% of GDP, which by international norms is really low. So that then begs the question, how do we attract the financing to the power sector in Nigeria that enables the 40,000 to transmit into something much, much bigger than 4,000? And in thinking that through, of course, the private sector should play a role, because that's where we see a lot of capability, both capital but also know-how and job creation. So what will it take to get the private sector to want to get straight in there and invest to unleash this incredible capacity to be at the forefront?
So 40,000 megawatt is consumed nationally today. In terms of installed capacity, 13,000, that's the grid. That's why it's less than 10% that's consumed. So 13,000 today's capacity, 4,500 is what gets to the customer. So you can see there's already a gap.
Yes.
So the opportunity, first of all, in the existing infrastructure. What's the difference between that 13 and 4.5?
Yeah.
What do we need to do?
Yeah.
One. Two, today, and I think IFC and World Bank is involved in that, where there's the introduction of other alternatives, so mini grids, but this is small numbers. If you can reinforce the infrastructure, the grid infrastructure itself, then first of all, you close the energy gap. Second of all, it's complementary. It can't depend only on the mini grids. It has to be complementary.
Yes.
More importantly, is to sort out the fundamental challenges that is not allowing investors put in money. The losses, if you combine all the discos, is 40%. That means they lose 40% for every megawatt sold. Why is that? There's no way an investor will be encouraged. That's one. Two, the government on its part is working on various reforms to encourage private sector players to come into the sector. Today, there's disrep metering. The government is doing PMI, but it's not enough. I see the government being very deliberate about a lot of these reforms that would encourage private sector investors. The private sectors are still a little bit still skeptical because they're wondering, will they change the policies tomorrow? Elections are coming, will politics interfere? But that's where World Bank and IFC comes, where you can be an advocate with the government to show them the numbers and just encourage them. But I'm very hopeful for the sector. I believe that we can make a difference, and we will make a difference. I think with the reforms, and I think with the conversations with IFC and World Bank, and some of the things we're even doing, IFC is working with even our group to see what they can do on the transmission side. I've told you what they're doing with us on the disco side. All of this combined, I think when we share those numbers, private sector investors will be encouraged to participate.
Yeah. Thank you so much for breaking down the numbers, but also putting it back together again on how it's very codependent. The investments are needed, but the investments need a framework whereby there can be returns. And then I think your point that you need stability and predictability on the regulatory and policy frameworks is really spot on, and that's something, you're absolutely right, which we are in discussion all the time with the government here in Nigeria and in all the countries we work in. The reforms that were launched a couple of years ago, I have to say I commend the government and the leadership a lot for taking these tough reforms, which we're starting to see transmit now into better numbers for the economy as a whole. So that's incredibly inspiring. Look, thank you. I don't think we can do Mission 300 without you and without your company, but really your understanding of how it all needs to come together. So I want to thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
Fascinating conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for joining today. And here's my take. Reliable, affordable electricity for all Nigerians will require strong utilities, good governance, and smart investments, supported by public and private sector partnerships. Reforms will be key to ensure a financially sound sector, including cost-effective pricing, reduced losses, and protection of the most vulnerable. Companies like Ikeja Electric are essential to strengthening the grid, expanding access, and ensuring that all communities can benefit from Nigeria's economic growth. Nigeria's scale and ambition on energy access means it will be central to Africa's goal of bringing electricity to 300 million people by 2030. At the World Bank Group, we're committed to supporting faster electrification across Africa, because reliable energy doesn't just power homes, it powers jobs, productivity, and the future of a dynamic continent. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on Talking Development.